There can be literally thousands of combinations that can impact a DSL circuit. But just to talk about some specific things, how certain conditions impact circuits, we're going to use a line simulator, and that's it over on the left. It's pretty simple. And then we've got the Sidekick Plus, and then connected over on the right side, I've got an old laptop driving a rack-mounted test set that can act like a D-Slam too. So for our purposes here, it is our D-Slam. One thing I like about the Sidekick handheld is its capability to be operated using a dial. It makes it a lot simpler to get to everything. You can go directly to what you want most times. And the configurations are fairly easy once you know where they are. Okay, then using the dial, we're going to just go to ADSL and VDSL. Normally this function button means something on the other settings, but for VDSL and ADSL, it's what profile you're using inside of the sync test. It chooses if it's ADSL or VDSL, VDSL2, or if it's adaptive. Okay, we're going to go through our first sync sequence. This is a direct connection directly from the D-Slam to the Greenlee to the Sidekick Plus, and there's nothing between the two except for the cords. Absolutely a direct connection. So it's not going to do anything until you tell it to connect. But before let's connect, let's look at something really important here. You press the F1 key, and that shows you the different profiles that are available to you. I've built one specifically that'll handle both ADSL, ADSL2 plus, VDSL1 and VDSL2, and it's the one I use all the time. I never mess around with it, but depending on what profile you have, it will tremendously impact the test results you get back, or at least it could. So we're going to stick with what we have because I like that one. Press F4, select. And now we're going to press the connect button. If you notice up at the top, it waits. I don't know why it waits. It waits. Now it's configuring, it's talking to the broadband chipset inside of the test set, configuring it for the type of sync it's expecting. And it's starting, and you can see it's flashing slowly. There's the X in the upper left that's flashing slowly also, and in the upper right you'll see idle, and what idle means is I don't see another modem. So I'm going to turn the D-Slam on, and now it's going to do the same thing. It's going to talk to the chipset and set things up for the profile it's set for, and it's an ADSL2 plus profile. And it sees the D-Slam on the far end, and it starts the training process. It's going back to 992, which is ADSL2 plus. It's figuring out its channels. And showtime. And it's showtime on both sides. On both the D-Slam side and on the modem side, which in this case the Greenlee's acting like the modem. Now if you notice, the sync indication is solid now. If it's solid, it means it's in sync. The data's still flashing because I don't have a connection to run any data through it, which is not a test I do anyway. Okay, so A lot of people never get past this screen, but there's a lot of data here. You just have to go and find it, and it's all important. So we're going to click the F4 status button, and we're going to go to 1, showtime. Chances are you've seen this screen. It's giving you the link rate, the max rate, the capacity, the SNR margin, the power attenuation, the impulse noise protection, and the interleave delay. We're going to talk about all of those things. But that's under the showtime screen. 2 is line failure. This is going to show you your FEX, your hex, CRCs, error seconds, that type of thing. Now, if you notice, we have 78 unavailable seconds. That's only because of the time it took to sync. If you do a reset on the counters, you'll see that it goes back to 0 and it stays at 0. Again, this is a direct cable-to-cable connection. There shouldn't be any errors whatsoever, and there aren't. H-log. This is a graph that's showing you attenuation at frequency. So the vertical is the amount of loss, and the horizontal is the frequency. Now this will extend all the way out to 2.2 megahertz because it's an ADSL 2 plus circuit. And if you look, it's basically a flat line because there isn't any cable in place. Now we're going to do number 4, which is bits per bin. Again, the vertical is the amount of bits. The horizontal is the bins. Bits go into bins, and we're going to talk about that a lot also. But it's extremely consistent. The part over on the left, that's your upstream side, and it's not going any higher than, looks like 13 bits per bin. 15 bits per bin is the maximum, and so it's using all of those all the way across because, again, there's not any attenuation because it's a direct cable connection. We're going to show what happens later when there's actual or even a simulator on there. 5 is the signal to noise ratio. Again, an important thing that we will be discussing a lot, why it's important, how it can both help you and hurt you. And again, if you look, it's a fairly flat line. Now, this does not include the upstream data because that information comes from the DSLAM, and that's not passed along during the profile. And then you've got your QLN, which is your quiet line noise. It's showing you how much noise is there and what frequency. Again, the amount is the vertical, the frequency is the horizontal, and again, you scroll all the way over because it goes out to 2.2 megahertz. So not much noise, just a few blips. And by the way, the blips you're seeing there are AM radio noise. The grounding in my house is not extremely good, so I imagine that's coming from there. And one last thing that we look at, number 7, is the connection info. Really and truly, you do this one time and it doesn't really change. The exception is the span length, and it's saying less than 1,000 feet, which of course it's accurate because this is a cable-to-cable connection, but don't trust that footage. That is not nearly as accurate as a capacitance open meter test or a TDR. It's just it's an estimation based on attenuation, and if something is changing the attenuation besides the cable pair, that number will be off. And then if you look at the bottom, the test center has the capability of doing vectoring, but it's been disabled. And that's it for our first sync test.